All Things Tech.
And welcome back to All Things Tech. We are coming at you from our recording studio in Seattle, Washington, our Seagull Seaport City in the Evergreen State of the Northwest. Today we are going over the Law of Attraction, the Bible Code, the Lost City of Mu, Enoch, Antarctica, Ancient Civilization, texts, and much more. We're going to have people joining us from all around the world, all around this flat, hollow globe here. We are going to be transferring it over to our top tech advisor, Pseudo, who is standing by in the UK, and he will be starting off the discussion with the basics of the Law of Attraction. Hex will be joining him from Australia, and I will go ahead and hand it off to you guys so we can go ahead and get going.
Stand by.
I got offered a new job position, by the way, and it's actually more paid than what I'm doing now. So right now, my old job, I'm getting 80k a year, but then this new job, they boosted me up to about 150 a year, and this was unexpected and out of nowhere.
Really? Well, I'm gonna move there. Sign me up.
Yeah, man, I was kind of surprised. I'm still kind of surprised now. I start this new job tomorrow, and my old job now, I'm just gonna leave. I never gave him a 2 weeks notice, which is probably gonna look bad on my side. But anyway, that company that offered me the new job, they're called Uwanda, and Uwanda is a multi-billion-dollar company. It's an international company. They're located in China, but work in America, Australia, China, Japan, Thailand. Crazy, man. How they? I don't understand. I was asking one of their bosses today, actually, how they get my application when I never signed up for them.
Maybe they have some plans for you. Interesting. Well, if they have an office here in the United States, let me know. Maybe I'll call them up.
Yeah, definitely. They're called Uwanda. I'll show you. I'll send you a link.
I'm interested in what you said there, Hex, about the unexpected money, the pay rise. So I've got a question for you. Have you been wanting anything like a new house or luxury car or anything like that?
Yes, but it wasn't a car or a house. It was actually land. I'm actually looking into buying that, but I never spoke to anyone about it. The only person I spoke to was my boss, my old boss from another company. He owns a shop fitting company, and he sold half his company and he still has half of it. So now he's a multi-millionaire. Anyway, I only spoke to him about buying land. It fucking intrigues me and kind of surprised me.
So tell me, did you imagine yourself being the owner of that land, walking around the land or anything like that? Having the deeds or anything like that?
Fuck, definitely. 100%, man. No, I'm not buying the land, for fun. I'm actually buying the land so I can rebuild on it. I want to actually build apartments on this land. And then it's based out in west of Sydney. It's right near a river. But the only thing is, I haven't inquired anything about that land. I'm just wanting to buy that land. Right now, I'm just researching into it. I haven't said anything to anyone except for, my boss, which is now a really good mate of mine.
That's cool. So, did you have any idea of what the buildings would look like on this land? I mean, have you done any kind of mental role play about the thing that you want to do?
Yeah, pretty much standard units, but with the windows, I wanted to be like the sliding doors. So you got the sliding doors, and most sliding doors in every single unit are square, but the sliding doors I actually wanted to be half round. What do you call it? An oval shaped sliding door for the outside balconies. That's for every single floor.
And have you done any sketches, pencil drawings, or anything like that to support your ideas?
Yes, on my old Sony Xperia Z5, I'm trying to get that data back because I can't. When you break your when you break your Xperia Z5, you can't touch the screen, so I had to try and reverse I can't even say the damn word now. Anyway, forget it. Trying to get the data off that phone. I had to give it into a phone doctor, which I'm going to do tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, okay, so what you're saying is you made like some digital schematics on your phone about your ideas.
Yeah, pretty much, but they're only sketches. There weren't no blueprints or anything, just quick sketches. I don't think anyone would have got their hands on it. I'm not too sure.
That's great, because I'm very, very interested in this thing called the law of attraction, and I like to hear people's stories about how things manifest, and it sounds like something's definitely in the process of manifesting there for you. That's why I asked you if you had any ideals and things, because I suspected you did straight away with the money coming unexpectedly.
Yeah, it's a building sketch that's never been seen. It's probably never going to be done. In sides of the engineering part, it is a bit. It's a bit hard for the engineers to try and get a half oval door to, I already sketched it out, but for them to actually try and put it together, I don't know if that might be a challenge for engineers. Maybe, maybe not. But yeah.
So have you always had a doubt about whether it would be done or not? Because I'm surprised to hear you say that probably never will be done. But also some people say it doesn't matter how you speak about a subject, as long as you're on the subject. It doesn't matter if it's yes to the subject or no to the subject. The subject itself is going to grow.
Well, for me, I believe it can be done. But today's engineers, I don't think they have the passion to do that anymore. I think that the engineers, if anything, engineers with their job title lost the passion to actually doing the work.
Well, all I say to you is keep doing what you're doing, because it seems like it's working.
What do you mean? I didn't get that.
Well, the quote-unquote universe is providing you with the resources for whatever it is that you've got cooking in the background there. Your desires, your ideas. You are now being supported. If that income comes through, as you say, it's being offered to you already, then you need the money, obviously, to buy the land. So basically I'm just saying whatever you're doing it right, if the money is flowing towards you.
Alright, I may have lied a little bit. So there was a place that I've inquired. It's Parramatta. It's in Sydney, but it's not in Sydney CBD. It's actually in the middle of Sydney CBD. No, sorry, it's not even in the middle. It's probably closer out west, if anything. Now I wanted to buy the whole entire Parramatta, that area alone. Like, the council is a bit iffy on that, because he said if I do buy the area, I'll be looking at billions. Then he's like, "Do you have billions to spend?" I was like, "No, I don't. Well, I got good credit." And he's like, "Well, you need to get millions of dollars before you can do that," which is fine, because I actually trying to start up my own little club with my one of my bosses, the one that I mentioned earlier. We were going to start a club in to see if we could try and buy that club, not lease it for 5 years, because if we lease it for 5 years, and if that club does well, the owners of that land, of that club, and that part of that little land could come in and just take the contract off us and piss us off, which we don't want to do.
Well, I'm not qualified to comment on any of that, what you just said in the key, because that's totally out of my experience. But yeah, just the initial thing that you said there about the unexpected money flowing towards you. Yeah, sounds good.
What do you reckon it is?
I reckon it's basically you're working with this thing that everybody else works with, called the law of attraction, and some people attract positive things and some people attract negative things. And basically it's it's not like there's anybody or anything deciding whether you should have a thing or not. You just get what you're putting out there. It seems like whatever you're putting out there seems to be functioning properly for you right now. It's a long subject, the law of attraction. It's quite detailed. But there's a number of books out there that explain about it. Maybe you should just do a Google of the law of attraction.
Does the law of attraction have anything to do with hurting people? So, say, for instance, I've hated this one person for not even 1 year, and I wished, I don't know why, it's kind of scary for me, because I actually wish that he actually got hit by a car and just fucking suffered in hospital because of shit that he said. It ended up happening, but not in that way. He got hit by a bus and he brain dead. And I found out 2 weeks later, which kind of scared me a little bit, because I started to scratch my head and think, oh fuck, I should have wished that upon him. But anyway, I did. I have a little bit of regret doing that.
Strange. I can't really say. I had an experience that was similar, but there was no bad intent behind it. In 2010, I had spinal surgery. I had a couple of discs replaced in my neck area. And at the time I was listening to some U2 music. The year previous I'd attended a concert. So as I was showering one day, I was thinking to myself, this was after the operation, I was thinking to myself, how come something like this, having to have spinal surgery and stuff, never happens to somebody like Bono? I literally thought to myself, it couldn't happen to Bono, could it? Because, he's so got it all together. And here I am, I'm just a nobody. I guess it was a little bit too self-reflective or whatever. It was just a thought anyway. And then the next thing I knew, literally days later, I became aware that Bono ended up having to have spinal surgery because of some accident he had on stage. And yeah, it kind of made me think, I guess, a little bit like what you said there with your story. Although I didn't wish anything upon him, I can't really comment about what you said there, whether you feel that you directed that energy towards him or whatever. I mean, I really don't know. I can't speak to that.
Yeah, that was the one thing that scared me a lot, because it wasn't the first time that I've done that. It's sad as it sounds, and it is really sad. But my older brother, he teases a lot of Down syndrome people. He doesn't tease them, he just laughs at them. And I said to him one day when we were walking, I was like, this was like 5 years ago when I said it to him. I was like, keep laughing at them, and then one day it's going to happen to you, and then you're not going to like it. And then anyway, he had his first kid, and then his ex-missus found out, his wife at the time found out he was cheating on her. So then she left him, and they ended up breaking up, and he's with another woman now. So anyway, they had a kid, and that kid come out, and he has has, some sort of disabled thing to it, but he came apologising to me, saying that, saying sorry and that, and I said to him, I was like, what are you saying sorry to me for? He's like, I shouldn't have said shit like that before. I was like, don't say sorry to me, man. I was like, fuck, keep me out of it. He's like, yeah, but it's just shit that you said keeps coming fucking true and starting to worry me. I was like, yeah, I know, it worried me too, because I don't know if it's karma or the way things work around you, but I just told you.
Well, I think it's a little bit like what I said when I said it doesn't matter whether you say yes about a subject or no about a subject, you're actually making it grow. So if he was finding something amusing, obviously he was turning it over in his mind and giving energy to the affliction, and the things that you give energy to have a tendency for manifestation if you put energy into it. So if he found something to be amusing, there's an energy right there, isn't there? That emotion when you feel something, you feel an emotion when you're happy or when you're sad. But I would say that if you just academically think about a thing without being emotionally attached, then you're not giving it energy to manifest. So yeah, to ridicule a thing, to find something funny and laughable, you're definitely contributing the energy to it.
Yeah, that's true. Like you were saying, I haven't read that book, the Law of Attraction. But for me, like what you said, I do believe that if you wanted something to happen in your mind very badly or good, it depends on the intention, it will happen. But then that's something that will probably, depending on the situation you're in, and if you don't think about it too much, might bite you back. I don't know. Maybe crazy talk, but I don't know how it works.
It's not crazy talk, and it's not a particular book. I mean, there may be a book out there called The Law of Attraction, no doubt there is, but there are many different books by many different names on the same subject. I just forgot what else I was going to say then. It'll come back, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, man. Pretty crazy how it's more, what's the word for it? There was a word for it, I forgot what the word was. Well, it's amazing how things end up happening when you think of it, of anything. Like I said, like a person getting hurt, and then it ends up happening. It's pretty crazy how it actually happens, and you don't mean to do it. And you don't know if you had any participation in doing it.
Yeah, but then again, I've come to understand that you can't do for another person. It could be purely coincidental that you become conscious of these events, and you were thinking about them at the time. You may not have been putting energy into them, but they may have been destined to manifest anyway, so you became aware of the fact that they had. But I remember the thing that I was going to say now. So the experts say that, imagine if you want something, let's say for instance you wanted a Ferrari, and if you feel the lack of it, if you feel like the Ferrari is missing, then you will never get that Ferrari, because the energy that you're putting out there is the energy of lack. But they say if you feel the presence of the Ferrari and excitement about the Ferrari, coupled with visualizations of you driving the Ferrari, then you will attract the Ferrari.
Yeah, that does make sense. I get where you're coming from. Where was this, where did you read this from? Did you say again?
I've studied these various offerings since around the beginning of 2011. My first introduction was a book, actually. It's well known. It's called The Secret. The way I came about it was I visited my library one day, and now and again when I visit the library, and I go to a certain section numbered 133, which is paranormal and things like that. And usually I just stand and I kind of stare at the bookshelf, and usually a book will just grab my attention. So a certain book grabbed my attention, and I do remember pulling it off the shelf maybe a year or two previously, reading the back page and thinking, oh yeah, right, and then just putting it back again. But this time I had a stronger attraction to this book, so I brought it home and read it, and I found out that there is a DVD of the same thing explaining what the book explains. And then I got an insight of the background of the author. Her name is Rhonda Byrne, and I found out what her deal was, her story. She was an Australian TV producer, and she was down on her luck. She experienced a grievance. Her father passed. She was losing her business, losing her health. Everything was going wrong for her. And then apparently, this is her story anyway, her daughter printed off some manuscript.
Sorry about that. Keep going, man. Carry on, bro.
Okay, so this woman was having a hard time, so her daughter printed off a manuscript off the internet and said, Mummy, read this. And it was called The Science of Getting Rich. And she read it, and she thought to herself, how come nobody knows this? So she put herself on a mission to find out the secrets of entrepreneurs, what was making them successful. And she contacted a number of them and brought them all together to create this DVD called The Secret. So that's one way I came across this information. So then I decided to investigate this book called The Science of Getting Rich, and then I found out the author produced other books. And then I found out that there was other authors producing other books on the same subjects. So one thing leads to another. I was actually engaging in the law of attraction, attracting the information about the law of attraction. And so I investigated these things for about 5 years. And ultimately, the best resource that I found relating to this subject, and you can find this on YouTube, is a lady called Esther Hicks, or if you were to search on YouTube, Abraham Hicks. This lady called Esther Hicks. Apparently, she's the real backstory behind this woman who created the book and DVD called The Secret. Esther Hicks is a person who goes on cruises, and she hosts seminars, and so the audience attend her seminars, and then there's one seat in front of the microphone where this lady stands, and it's called the hot seat, and people come up and ask her questions. Well, Esther Hicks, she learned meditation and things like that, and she connected to a non-physical group of entities which called themselves Abraham. So she's channeling non-physical entities, and she's assisting people in how to make life work for them. And she's authored she's authored something like 400 books or something like that, in CDs and DVDs. Her website is abraham-hicks.com, I believe, but YouTube is a great resource because it's all free. So if you want to know more about this kind of thing, I would say just do a YouTube search, Abraham Hicks, and then just listen to some of those videos. And maybe you want to add a different word. You put in the search engine Abraham Hicks, and then whatever subject you're thinking about, because there are literally thousands of videos out there, and the chances are there'll be a video addressing your query.
Wow. Sounds really, really interesting. And I will look into that, actually. My story was similar to yours, but a different path, if anything. I stumbled across a YouTube video back in 2008, and at the time I was 18. It was called Stuff They Don't Want You to Know. I don't know if they still have that on YouTube, but that was a long time ago. Anyway, I was watching a video about fluoride and how it was in our toothpaste, our water, all our water systems, and how it was bad for your health, your teeth. And a lot of people don't know that fluoride is they use in atomic bombs. And anyway, I went on from watching that video to another one, and then I started to get into looking into history. So I went back into history and looked into history. I searched the Bible for answers. Didn't come up with any. A lot of lost passages, a lot of lost context. The one that intrigued me the most was when in Genesis 6, when it says God's sons had made contact with human women, mortal women, pretty much. Not immortal, mortal women. So they had engaged in intercourse with mortal women, and it was forbidden for them to do so. At the time they were called watchers, and watchers were the people that floated upon the water. This is way before the existence of humans. But then if you go back in some passages in the Bible, it said, and the cities were dull, there was no light, everything was dead. But it mentioned the word cities. So there were cities before the Egyptians and before our time. So who built those cities? That's what I was wondering. And then before then, everything was destroyed, and then Adam and Eve came. And that's the thing. A lot of context is lost throughout every single history subject. And I'm still, right now, I'm far beyond all that. And just piecing together every single piece of the puzzle, from movies to, and it is there, it's in front of everyone's face, but a lot of people, when they watch TV shows, they wonder, that was a good TV series last night. But then I think of it as a different thing. So I look at it as another way of, these producers knew what they were talking about. Obviously there's a subliminal message trying to be put out there for the ones that have their eyes open. And I think a lot of people find that crazy talk, or they don't believe what I'm trying to tell them. Or some things, like I say to them, they go, no, it's a coincidence, it's just nonsense.
I totally get what you're saying. When you were mentioning the religion and the people mating with the women and things, it made me think of the Elohim. But when you mentioned the watchers, now you're the first person in years first person ever since I became aware of some information about these so-called watchers. Apparently they were described as having measuring instruments like staffs. So what I came to understand through reading a book, I don't remember what the title of it was, I think it had the word Atlantis in it. We mentioned cities as well, lost civilization as well. As it was being explained to me, that these watchers, these people were actually taking seismic measurements because they were aware that something was happening in the world and that there was going to be some kind of cataclysm. And then apparently this led to the destruction of this city that we refer to as Atlantis, which is now apparently could be located in Antarctica, 3 miles under the ice or whatever. But yeah, interesting you said that about the watchers, because nobody has ever said that.
Sorry, I meant to cut you off there. Yeah, so that's good that you know about the watchers. You're probably the only person I've actually come across that actually understands where I'm coming from. So I've been searching for years and years and years and years. This is started from 2008. Now 2017, I'm 28 years old, and the information that I came across. So in Genesis 6, that wasn't only the passage I read. There was more to that passage. So that it says God took Enoch and walked with him, or Enoch walked with God. Now Enoch is a descendant of Abraham, and descendants of Enoch were Noah, Adam, and but that's not only it. If you decode each name of the Bible, each name has a reference to it. So Adam, the first man, his name means, Adam's name means the first man. Sorry. Methuselah, that's another name mentioned in the Bible. Decode that name and you get a word out of it. Each name and each name of each person has a descriptive meaning to it, but it's all hidden, and not a lot of people look into that. As for what I was saying with the watches, when I went back to my parents' island that's in the Pacific, and I was actually in the museum there. I looked at the old maps that they have there in the museum, and then they had this massive continent on this map, and it was called the continent of Mu. It's MU. I was intrigued by it. I was like, well, why don't we have this on our history books or anywhere else in the world? And then the guy that I was speaking to said to me that it's been lost for millions of years. This is only the part of it's a lost map, but no one here understands where it comes from, so they just keep it on display. So I looked at it, and then the capital of Mu was Hiva. Now Hiva is still well populated with people. It's a little island in Tonga. So they got a stone there that's similar to Stonehenge, but it's only one of them. Those stones, actually 3 of them. So you got 2 on the sides and 1 on top, and that's in that main part of that island. So I went there and I started to look on that wall, and I've seen all this writing, but I didn't understand any of it. Trying to search on the internet for the writings that I've seen, can't find any clue to it. So then I've been asking the villagers around, all the old villagers that were in the 90s, and a lot of them were telling me a lot of stories. But these are only stories. But each story of each individual from different villages told me the exact same story, that Tonga used to be one of the biggest continent ever on Earth, and it sunk. I was like, how the hell did it sunk? Where did it go? And they're like, oh, if you understand, the history was this island was made out of gold, pure gold. Like pure gold pyramids were there, but before our time, it was wiped off the face of the earth. And I was thinking, how the hell can that be? So then I went back and researched it even more. In the book of Enoch, he mentioned every single island, every single land. He even mentioned Antarctica being there. He even said that the only place for God to hide, actually imprison the watchers, was the driest, the coldest, and the only place that never goes dark. And so it's the driest, wettest, and coldest place that never rains and never goes dark. So that's the only one place I could think of was Antarctica. It never rains, it's cold, and it's dry, and it never goes dark there. So then in the book of Enoch, if you keep reading past, he keeps saying if you get to the edge of Antarctica, you find the power source to everything. What power source is there to everything? And why can't we explore Antarctica? Because now, if you look at Antarctica on the map, you can only zoom into a certain part, but you can't see everything clearly. If you go to explore Antarctica in today's modern society, you can't, because it is now US ground, and it's been blocked off by the government, and the soldiers are running the whole area now for some unknown reason. I don't know why, but yeah, I've been researching on this for a long time, and so far I've been come up to that. And not only that, also there's been shippings of trillions of dollars from each major individual countries like China, Japan, Russia, Australia, United States, Canada, Switzerland, all shipping trillions of dollars straight into Antarctica. Why? I don't understand why we're doing that, but it's not being told to anyone.
It's fascinating what you said there, because I've never heard of this so-called energy source at the boundaries. I don't know if you've looked into the theory of the flat earthers. It's definitely linked to the things that you were saying, because there's the Antarctic Treaty there, isn't there, and the flag of the United Nations, and they've decided Antarctica is off limits. Now you've just told me something about an alleged power source. So there's a piece of information that I wasn't privy to, which I found fascinating, and I'd like to know a little bit more about that in due course, and I probably will now. So I don't know, maybe you have looked into it, maybe you haven't, but when you said the word Methuselah, I found that interesting, because again, you've just said for the second time now something that nobody has ever said to me before, and I'm familiar with this word Methuselah, and it's linked to this DVD that I was telling you about called The Secret. Now, if you were to watch The Secret, you'll see at the very beginning a book is opened, but you're not informed as to what the book is. You just see a page in this book, and I happened to freeze frame this book to see what it actually was. So I freeze framed it, and I zoomed in on it, and it was a book called The Life Power. So I thought, wow, this is fascinating, and it's actually one of these New Thought publications from 1908, I believe it is, and I managed to source the original. I gave it to my daughter, and the very first chapter is called Methuselah and the Sun. So I'm guessing you can maybe tell me, is Methuselah something destructive? Because the chapter speaks about these things called actinic rays, where like the sun is life-giving, but it also like gives off things that cause death, etc. But the death is essential for the rebirth of new life. So if I could just ask you that.
Alright, I want you to write this down. And each name that I'll point to you has a meaning behind it. Actually, I decoded it myself, and I found it very, very interesting. So when you're ready, just tell me, and I'll tell you each name and the meaning to it. For myself, like I said, it may be something hard to believe, but I don't know what these meanings meant when I decoded these. But when you're ready, just let me know.
Yeah, I've already got the pen and notepad. I had it beside me before you keyed up.
Alright, sorry man. So Adam. Adam is the first man. So Adam's name means man. Seth, a descendant of Adam, means appointed.
Well, before you go any further, Seth is very extremely relevant to these laws of attraction. Seth is an entity that was channeled by a lady called Jane Roberts and has a very strong link to this lady called Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham. So again, what did Seth mean?
Seth means appointed. So giving, taking orders, I think, or maybe giving orders. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not too sure. And then there was Enoch. Enosh means mortal. Canaan is in the Bible. Another descendant of Adam. Each of these individuals are all descendants of Adam. So Canaan is another individual's name, a descendant of Adam. So I'm pretty sure I gave you Adam, Seth, and Enosh. Enosh, where am I at now, sorry?
Yeah, you're up to Canaan now, the meaning of Canaan, you didn't say that yet.
Yeah, so Canaan means sorrow. Mahalel, another descendant of Adam, means the blessed.
How do you spell that?
Mahalel. Mahale.
property. Yeah, I got that.
Alright, so you got Mahalel. Mahalel.
Yeah, I got that.
Mahalel meant the blessed. And then there was Jared. All these people are all descendants of Adam. So Jared his name means the blessed.
Oh, because I thought you said Mahalel means blessed. So they both mean blessed, do they?
Oh no, sorry, yeah, Mahalel means the blessed. Oh, I'm sorry, I do apologise for that. So then there was Mahalel, then Jared, and then
You lost the mic there. So what did Jared mean?
shall come down. So Jared means shall come down. And then there was Enoch. Now Enoch is mentioned in Genesis 6. This is the man that walked with God. His name means teacher.
Oh, because I thought you said Enoch means mortal.
No, because that's Enosh. Enosh and then Enoch. Enosh means mortal. Enoch means teacher or teaching.
Okay, yeah, I got that.
So now this one is Methuselah. Methuselah means his name shall bring death.
Okay, so yeah, that fits in with what I said, didn't I? Did it relate to destruction?
Yep, and Lamech. After Methuselah, there's Lamech. Lamech means the dispiriting.
Disparity, is that Lemik? How do you spell? Is that L-E-M-I-K?
Lamech. Lamech.
This is fascinating.
And then the last of Adam's descendants, Noah. So this is the last code that I found in the whole Bible. So Noah's name means comfort or rest.
Wow, so I'm just going to do a count of the names, including Adam. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in total. I'm guessing there's probably 2 more, or 3.
No, that's all of them. So it should be 10. Did you said 10, right?
I did, yeah. And, yeah, fascinating that you said Seth. There's actually a book out there by Jane Roberts called Seth Speaks, and she's channeling an entity called Seth. There's also another Seth book called The Nature of Personal Reality.
Alright, so each of those names have meaning. Now, if you put all those words together, you get a message out of them. And this actually shocked me to my core. And gave me goosebumps for the first time in a long time. And it's crazy how it works. But each of those names and each of those meanings were pointed to this name, to each individual's name. It is very hard to understand, but that's how I figured this out. I don't know how or why, but it amazed me.
Well, you can just intuit things sometimes, can't you? If you've, I don't know. I mean, have you ever done meditation or just, sat in silence, things like that? Because regardless of all the fluoride and things that you're talking about, these things like meditation and just sitting in the silence, concentrating on breathing, can counteract the results of nasty chemicals and things.
I won't lie to you. I do have a lot of alone time with myself, and I try to pretty much decipher how this world works and what's really behind it. I think I'm getting closer to each answer, but then I keep getting pushed back one step. So in saying that, I keep moving forward. I don't want to stop. I want to keep moving forward.
I'm sure you will, because you've got an inquiring mind, But although you will probably move forward, the boundaries will probably move forward with you. I was only thinking about this yesterday, about the boundaries of our imagination. Imagine if you had a stick attached to your chest pointing forward, and attached to that was the boundary, and you could just about reach it with your fingers, although you may be an inch or two off the boundary. And even if you walk forward, the boundary's going to go forward too, you know what I mean? So you learn stuff, but there'll always be stuff to learn. You'll never get to the end of anything.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. Completely agree. But for me, I feel like I'm getting closer to the answer, and there's some really strong force is stopping me from getting it. And as it might sound crazy what I say now, but when the Watchers were the sons of, they were spirits, so pretty much angels. Watchers were what we call now our angels. Now there were 200 of them that went against God. They actually wanted to feel, they wanted to think, they wanted to reason with things. They wanted to do things themselves, have thought. So when God found out that they had, children with mortal women, these children were giants, and I mean huge giants. They're 35 feet tall and even bigger. And the whole misconception in history, I think, is that a lot of these that are mentioned in the Bible, that there were giants, like Goliath, Christopher, the last giant that actually carried Jesus as a baby across the water. And I quote, this is Christopher's word to Jesus: "This must be what it feels like to carry the world." And Jesus said, "This is only half of what it feels like." And this was a giant that carried, Jesus across the water on his shoulder. And just imagine the tremendous pressure and the weight of that little child. But then all that's been deleted and not mentioned after any sort of thing along those lines about giants. It was like it was taken away from the Bible. But Enoch covers all that. Enoch's book was left out of the Bible for some unknown reason, but it was covered. It was said that the Watchers, the ones that 200 of them, the ones that went against God and had these, men that grew to be giants, their children, God said that children won't live to be 900 years old. Mind you, Noah and Methuselah and all Adam's descendants all lived up to 950 and 960 years old. Now, he said the giants, and God said these kids that these angels had with these mortal women, their kids will only live up to be 120 years old. No more than 120 years old. And that's when he sent Noah out to build this boat, and he was going to wipe the whole entire face of the earth clean. But it doesn't say why. But then there was one of the angels, his name was mentioned in one of the passages, Ariel or something like that, I can't remember. Anyway, they had to find Ariel and bind him with all the other angels, as all these other Watchers, and then throw them into the depth of the earth for infinity till they come, till God says they can be released. I don't know too much of that, but anyway, they did. If you were going to get rid of nuclear waste, where would you put it? You would put it out in the desert, pretty much. Where would you put these Watchers? And Enoch states these watches were buried in the driest, wettest, coldest, yet only place that never goes dark and never rains. And that's why I said earlier, Antarctica is the only place where these watches can be buried and locked up for infinity numbers of years and never come out. And then again, it's off limits to the public to explore Antarctica. Why? I don't know.
That totally fits in with what I came to understand about these giants. As you say, and rightly, that they were 30 feet tall. I come to understand that a number of these bones were found, these skeletons, in various places in America, and you said the deserts, which fits in with what I understand, that a lot of these places where these bones have been found have been declared sacred land, and the excuses that are given is that it's native Indian burial sites, and that's why nobody can go to the land anymore. But yeah, it does make sense that they would take them to somewhere like Antarctica, and I came to understand that the organisation that's responsible for taking these bones away is an organisation called the Smithsonian Institute. Have you ever heard of the Smithsonian Institute?
Yes, I have. And there were, back in those days, before the time of the Freemasons. Mind you, Freemasons were way older than, actually, I'm not too sure, because Freemasons and Illuminatis could be just as old as each other. But I know that the Freemasons were the people that, when building a structure, always hid subliminal messages in each and every single building. To the average eye, it just looks like a beautiful building with structures man-made for us only to see something that's so beautiful that we can build. But the Freemasons always hid subliminal message in each single building, and each single wall, window, door. And then the Illuminati were the people who were pretty much with black magic, or summoning the devil. But then when put together, they thought, if the Freemasons and the Illuminati could get together, they could do black magic and subliminal messages without people knowing, and only just seeing what they want to see as wonderful, weird and beautiful.
Sure, I mean, we can do things using our mind. I mean, we've created this environment for a start. We create human beings. You mentioned this thing called the devil, which I don't subscribe to. It's a good idea to present to people to scare them off from using their own personal powers in any way which would interfere with these people who have plans for people who live on the earth. Another thing, like I was having a conversation a couple of nights ago in a room. I believe there's a person in this room now who was there also, and I happened to mention a quote from the Bible, and it was from Matthew, and I don't know whether it's 25 or 26, and it says, "The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." And I was giving reference to Jacob, who went to meet God at the place called Peniel. Now we all know that the third eye is called the pineal gland. And so I was saying that there's more to these biblical texts than, straight reading the way these Bible scholars interpret the things, and they say things like, oh no, having a single eye means having devotion to God and not swaying to the left and not swaying to the right and all that. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, you look at it like that if you want to. But there are other things alluding to the seat of the soul, which is the pineal gland. For instance, the right and left side of the brain, the cerebrum, and the cherubim. A veiled reference to the cerebrum, the Ark of the Covenant, which is the thing that connects the left brain to the right brain, and what is in the middle? The pineal gland, the all-seeing eye. Now, there's a lot to, the interpretation of religious texts, and for the most part, it's metaphysical. But the people who offer the religious texts to the population, they have no right to withhold information from us because we are beings of free will. But if they can convince us to misinterpret things and just present information in parables, and say, well, go figure it out. They know most people won't figure it out. And like you say, the architecture, and that's why they call them Freemasons, because it's all masonry. And then you've got like the pine cone, which is all over the place. I mean, you don't even have to go to a sacred building to see the pine cone. You can walk down the street and see it's everywhere, And the pine cone, it happens to be on the end of the Pope's staff. Now, here's my observation, and I haven't read this anywhere. There are two types of pine cone. One of them is a hard shell, solid on the outside, very tight, very small, smooth. And the other one is it's like an open flower. And if this is a representation of the pineal gland, well, the one that the Pope is parading on his staff is the closed hard shell, which is like saying, through religion, we're going to keep you in the dark because we're going to keep your seat of the soul shut down, And the largest pineal cone in architecture in this world is outside of the Vatican, apparently. But, these religious people and everything, I don't know where I'm going now, but, So there are awake people and there are asleep people. It seems the majority of people who are religious are actually the people who are asleep. They do have potential because they're linking to the concepts of intelligent design and God and the Creator and the essence that flows through us all. But it takes more than that. It takes a leap of, not a leap of faith, that's just too much of a pun, but it takes courage, to think outside of the box and to not need a crutch, a book to refer to every day and consume your thoughts with the words that are in that book, which you're never going to figure out anyway because it's all riddles, and the religious people can't even decide between themselves what the riddles in the Bible actually mean. So you've got to get to a point where you go investigating other things. But the Bible offers a lot of fear to people, It's like this fear of God or fear of Satan. It's like saying, whatever you do, don't think for yourself, because we don't want you to think for yourself. Just live in fear and read this book every day. Mind your own business, live your life, and leave the rest to us.
Yeah, that's true. Like, as you said, the whole thing with the pine cones, kind of surprising. That actually, it's something that I never thought about. Similar along those lines, but never actually put it in that perspective. But yeah, it's a very good perspective to put it in. And with the Catholic Church, if you do look up, if you go back to the history of the Catholic Church, mind you, the Catholics weren't religious at all. They only adopted Christianity after the death of Julius Caesar. Now, Julius Caesar was a man that did not believe in Christianity at all. And his story was very interesting, yet intriguing at the same time. So, in his time, they believed in gods, not God, not one God, but gods. And the man that raised him was his uncle, and they ran the whole entire Rome. Now, in battle, Julius Caesar actually got beaten up, and as he was lying down on the ground, he seen a flash of light before his eyes, and he stated in his notes in his journal that a cross of a sign of a cross came to his flash and saved his life. When he got up, and mind you, at this time, at this era of this time, they were suppressing Christians, because Christianity was not allowed to be spoken about. Anyone that had anything to do with Christianity was slaughtered and killed off. That's women, men, and kids. And then now, as Julius Caesar got up and then shocked in what he's seen, he ended up dropping his sword, walking off, jumping on his horse, riding back and questioning why is the Christians getting suppressed. Now his uncle, the one that raised him to become the general of the next general and leader of Rome, had no answer to that. And anyway, long story short, as Julius Caesar's time of reign came to an end, he was baptized and converted into a Christian and said, we will adopt this religion, Christianity, and make it to become the Roman Christianity to become a Roman thing. So that's when they created the Roman Catholic Church. Now, Rome never believed in the Bible or the history, but then there is a lost passage in there. There is so much lost text in saying that, because they don't tell us what happened. They only tell us after his baptism, after he was baptized at the age of 65 or 70 I think, or 65 or 70. He passed away leaving a journal that it was lost for centuries. Still now, they haven't found it. So there is a lost scripture in that stating why he adopted Christianity. But yeah, I couldn't understand what these people understand, and most people will never understand where or how religion came to pass. Trying to tell them and explain to them how things work will make me look crazy, and them saying them that my understanding of religion is completely false and wrong. But then when I look at when Jesus dies on the cross, a lot of Christians and Catholics think after the Trinity he becomes God. But then it states in the Bible, it even says it in the Bible, clear black and white, that God cannot be born in a womb of a woman, let alone a human. And so if God can't be born in a womb of a human, let alone a woman, then that makes Jesus the Son of God, not God. I believe that Jesus is the Son of God. A lot of Christians and Catholics believe that Jesus became God, which is completely false if you think about it, because he is the Son of God, which I understand, but he cannot become God, because if he becomes God, then who made God? A lot of people say, who made God? If God was created, who made God if God created the world? That I don't have the answer to. But yes, there's a lot of missing links to what I'm saying. And still now I'm still searching for a lot of information.
Very insightful what you said there about the Roman Catholic Church. But that last thing where you said, where they say God cannot be born into the womb as a human, and then you point out obviously that Jesus was born, yeah, that throws up a question. But my idea in response to that is that when they're saying God, they're probably speaking of the totality of God, because everything, all of us are a product of the energy. And it's probably a good thing that God as a whole empirically could not be born into this environment, because I wonder what would happen if he was. But this environment is God's work, so it's like saying, imagine you're God and you create a world. So it's like a painting or whatever it is, a computer program or a little petri dish full of things. It's no more possible for you to enter into that petri dish and be the totality of yourself than it is for the contents of the petri dish to be God, is it? You know what I mean? So I think it's kind of metaphorical, really. But my take on the God thing is that the God is just everything. We are part of everything. You are, I am. Collectively, we are God. You know, and so some people say that I'm speaking satanically by making such a claim. But the claim that I'm making is that this thing that is being referred to of God is essentially an energy, a life-giving, life-birthing energy. And we can't know God because we can't directly know the energy. Our duty here is to just use the energy. You know, God is expressing himself through us, through music, through art, through whatever it is we're enjoying. I mean, how can God do anything separate from being something and doing things? It seems impossible to me.
And that is all the time we have for tonight's podcast. If you want to hear more, you can stream us freely anytime, no monthly membership fees, by visiting us at www.truthbook.tk. Or if you are a SoundCloud user, you can join us there as well at www.soundcloud.com/allthingstech. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and other platforms on the truthbook.tk website. Again, thank you for listening to All Things Tech.